Good morning. It's a Tuesday, July 27th. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. Before we jump into the headlines of the day, we will first cross over live to a commemorative ceremony remembering the heroic efforts of the United Nations forces during the Korean War.
바로 다음은 순국
And
헌혈과
next, silent tribute to the fallen heroes,
그리고
martyrs, and
유엔군
the
전멸
UN
용사에 대한
soldiers.
묵념을 올리겠습니다. 일동
Silent
묵념.
tribute.
바로 모두 자리에
Please
앉아주시기
be
바랍니다.
seated.
안녕하십니까?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host for the medal presentation ceremony for UN veterans commemorating the UN Forces Participation Day, Chaplain Army Major Kim Chang-jung. Especially marking the UN Forces Participation Day on July 27th, today, the medal presentation ceremony has been prepared to express great gratitude and respect to the two heroes who served as UN veterans, Emil Joseph Capon and Colin Nicholas Can, who sacrificed their lives for the liberty and peace of the Republic of Korea some 70 years ago. First of all, we have prepared an introduction of the achievements of the awardee. And here's the introduction on the late Emil Joseph Capon.
들어보겠습니다.
Fought during the Korean War and was named as a saint.
He had his apostles gathered about him one day, and he said to them, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Do not let your heart be troubled or be afraid."
70년 만에 가족의 품으로 돌아온
For the first time in
에밀
70
조세프
years,
카폰 참전
he has
용사님의
returned
이야기를
to his family,
전해드리겠습니다.
and here is a story about him.
카폰 참전 용사님은 1950년 7월 15일 군종 신부의 신분으로
He took part in the
6.25
Korean
전쟁에
War on July
참전하게
15,
되었습니다.
1950, as an army
당시
chaplain.
치열했던 낙동강 전선에서
He fought
미군을
against
포함한
the enemy, and
유엔군
together with the
참전
UN
용사님들의
forces,
사기 진작을 위한 종교 활동을
and he
하셨으며
also served as the army chaplain.
1950년 11월에는
And in
평안북도 운산지구 전투에서
1950, he also
중공군의
safeguarded
공격에
many
후퇴
people, and he
병력이
also has
떨어졌음에도
been
불구하고
standing at the forefront
자발적으로
despite
전선에
the
남아
order to withdraw.
남아있던
And he
병력을
remained
위한
there, and he
종교
also
활동을
continued
펼치며
to carry out religious
중공군의
services
폭격에
for
맞서
his
40여 명의
comrades,
전우들을
and he also
수출하였습니다.
saved about 40 comrades
그리고
against the Chinese
본인은
enemy.
미처
And
회피하지
also
못한 채
he was not able
중공군에
to
잡혀
make his
전쟁
withdrawal,
포로가 되어
and he was
포로
captured
수용소로
as a
끌려가게
prisoner of
됩니다.
war, where he was captured
하지만
since then.
포로 수용소에서도
However,
카폰 참전 용사님의 헌신은
his dedication
않았습니다.
continued despite the fact that he
열악한
was
환경
captured
속에서도
in the prison
언제나
camp. Despite being
자신보다는
faced in
부상당한
challenging
병사를
situations,
돌보았습니다.
he first took care of the
본인
wounded
또한
soldiers
심각한
before
부상
himself.
중이었음에도
And
불구하고
despite the fact that he was
항상
wounded severely
자신보다
himself, he
전우들을
always
먼저
looked after
돌보았던
his
카폰
comrades
대위.
before himself.
결국 부상이 더 심해지며
And eventually
병원으로
his
옮겨졌지만
injury was becoming
끝내
more severe and has been
1951년
hospitalized. However,
5월
he passed
23일
away on May 23rd,
유명하셨습니다.
1951.
치열했던 전장에서 전우들을 돌보았던
He
아버지로
looked after the
참된
many
인류애를
comrades on the
실천했던 성인으로
battlefield, and he is now remembered as one of the
대한민국의 자유와
saints.
평화를 수호한
And he was
에밀
also
조세프 카폰
safeguarding
참전
the Republic
용사님의
of Korea's
희생과
freedom and peace.
헌신에
And I
감사와
extend my
존경의
deepest
인사를
appreciation
드립니다.
and respect for his sacrifice
행사에
and
참여하며
dedication. By taking
한국전의
part in
예수라
this
일컬어지는
ceremony,
신부님의
I am once
일대기와
again
공적에
remembering
대해
his
살펴보았습니다.
past life,
일상에
who was
치여
be dubbed as
친구들과
the Jesus of the
티격태격
Korean War. And sometimes I
성적에
fight
아등바등하며
with my
저
friends,
자신만을
and I
생각했던
also have
부끄러운
many times
자아상을
where I only thought about
한없이
myself,
내어주셨던
and I take this
신부님의
opportunity
베품과
to
대비에
once again
반성해 보았고
reflect myself on
제가
the
행복하게
achievements and
생활하고
the
있는
love exhorted by
살레시오 고등학교가
the late
신부님의
General
숭고한
Capon.
희생으로
And once again, I
활동하게 된
remember the
것에
fact that
감사하며
my high school, Salesio High School, has been
열심히
founded on the spirit
생활해야겠다고
of Priest
다짐해
Capon,
봅니다.
and I once again
이상
remain
살레시오
dedicated
고등학교
to this
2학년
end.
변성문이었습니다.
카폰 참전 용사님께서 보여주신 인류애가
I
변성문
sincerely
학생의
believe
가슴
that
속에
a student
크게
Pyun Sung-moon
와닿은
was
것
deeply
같습니다.
moved by the sense of love for
멈추지
mankind
않는 헌신.
exhorted by the fallen heroes.
신부님께서
A
보여주신
continued
모범을
love and
저도
sacrifice
그리고
is a
모든
lesson that I'm
군종
learning
장교들도
myself from the
기억하며
fallen hero, and we
이어가겠습니다.
will continue to succeed on
다음은
his spirit going
콜린
forward.
니콜라스
And
칸
next, here is an
참전
introduction
용사님의
on war veteran
공적을
Colin Nicholas
소개해드리겠습니다.
Can.
안녕하세요.
Good
가평고등학교
morning.
2학년
I
원예슬입니다.
am from
호주
Gapyeong High
참전
School. I'm
용사님들과
Won
우리
Ye-soo.
가평고등학교의
Together
인연은
with the
70년
Australian
전
war
가평
veterans,
전투로부터
we have been
시작되었습니다.
forging strong
그리고 저희
ties with
가평고등학교에서는
Gapyeong High School,
지금까지
and here
20년이
from
넘게
Gapyeong High School for the
호주에서
past 2
장학금을
decades,
지원받고
we
있습니다.
have been
저도
sponsoring
호주
with
참전
the
용사님들의 후원을 받은 학생 중
scholarship
한 명입니다.
given by the Australian
그
Embassy,
장학금으로
and I
인해
am
필요한
one of
곳으로
the
얻을 수
recipients,
있었고
and I was
원활한 학업
able
생활을 할수
to be
있었습니다.
benefited and
이런 좋은
continue to
환경을
carry out
만들어주신
my my education. I once again want to give my sincere appreciation to you for your help and support, and I would like to introduce to you one of the Australians has been serving as the platoon commander, and he has been dispatched to Korea to participate in the Korean War. His name is Colin Nicholas Can, and he has been standing on the front line as a platoon commander, and even before ending his mission, he had to return back to Australia because he was severely wounded. While he was on his duty, he had wounds by the 3 gunshots, and therefore he had to be moved back to Australia immediately. However, very fortunately, despite being severely injured, he is 91 years old this year, and he is in a very healthy state right now. And continuing from that specific incident, he continues to carry out activities for the relationship between Australia and South Korea. And he also contributed to the establishment of the Australian National Korean War Memorial, and he also stood in the front lines to make known to the Australian public about the developments made here in the Korean Peninsula. And in 2013, he visited back to Korea, and he says that the country has made remarkable achievements and growth since the Korean War, and he was very much surprised by the development made here in Korea. And he was very delighted, and once again, his pleasantness has also moved all of us. As he said earlier, in just a short period of time, South Korea was able to stand back on its foot, moving beyond the ashes of the Korean War. However, once again, we need to remember that there were the sacrifice and dedication put forth by the many war veterans. I love Republic of Korea, and I am very much proud of the fact that I am a citizen of the Republic of Korea. I believe that the establishment of the Republic of Korea was possible thanks to the war veterans' efforts and dedication. And once again, I sincerely hope that their efforts can continue to be remembered eternally going forward. Thank you very much.
호주 참전 용사님들과
The strong ties forged between the Australian war veterans and Gapyeong High School continues to today despite 70 years have passed. We sincerely continue that this relationship can be sustained, and as student Won Ye-soo has said, we shall remember their sacrifice and dedication going forward. And next, Mr. President will deliver his remarks.
존경하는 국민 여러분,
Fellow Korean citizens, UN war veterans, family members, and distinguished guests. Today marks the 68th anniversary of the signing of the Korean Armistice Agreement and also the 9th UN Forces Participation Day. The Korean War was the first took part by the United Nations since its foundation, and it served as an opportunity to engrave in world history the fact that solidarity and cooperation can safeguard a country's liberty and peace. At a time when we are in a desperate need of cooperation and solidarity battling against COVID-19 pandemic, it is ever more meaningful that we are revisiting the meaning of the UN forces participation. Today we are joined by very special guests. They are Raymond Kapon and his wife Lee Kapon, as well as Ms. Catherine Kan and Ms. Imogen Smith. The Kapons are niece of priest Emil Kapon, who was dubbed as the Jesus of the Korean War, while Ms. Catherine Kan and Imogen Smith are families of Brigadier General Colin Kan of the 1st Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment.
조카 정손녀입니다.
They have traveled far to South Korea despite the challenges posed by COVID-19. Thank you very much. Just now, we have been introduced by two students of the dedications made by the two heroes. Student Byun Sung-moon is from Saliseo High School in Gwangju City, which is now succeeding on the spirit of Priest Kapon, and student Won Ye-sil is from Gapyeong High School, which is receiving the Gapyeong Battle Scholarship funded by the Australian Embassy. This is an example of friendship and ties made possible by the Korean War. Today, on behalf of the Korean public, I am awarding the medal to the late Priest Kapon and General Kan. Until now, Prime Minister delivered such medals commemorating the UN Forces Participation Day. However, today, for the first time as the country's president, I have been entrusted with such an honorable task. I sincerely hope that the spirit of the two heroes who safeguarded our liberty and peace can be remembered eternally. Fellow Koreans, earlier in March, we have discovered the remains of Priest Kapon for the first time in some 7 decades at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific located in Hawaii. And this is like a miracle. Priest Kapon has displayed robust courage in defending freedom, peace, and his belief, despite facing challenging situations, including being injured and captured. He looked after the wounded, presided over Mass, practicing the true love by praying even for the enemy. In his life, we were able to see the love for humanity and mankind, and his spirit has become the root of the country's military ordinariate. And in 1993, the Vatican had declared him as the servant of God, the first stage on the path to canonization. And Cardinal Yum-Soo-jung, as well as the Korean Catholic Church, are also exerting their full efforts to make his beatification possible. His life will definitely become great spiritual heritages for not only the people of the U.S. and Korea, but also for the rest of the world. I sincerely hope that today's medal will serve as a warm encouragement for the many who are succeeding on his spirit, as well as the members of his bereaved family. And in April of 1951, during the Korean War, the dispatched Australian Army, together with British Commonwealth forces, fought against the enemy for 3 straight days in Gapyeong to block its entry into Seoul. And General Kan was platoon commander of the Royal Australian Regiment. In November of 1952, he was at the verge of death, being severely wounded. And after the war, he stood at the forefront of letting the rest of Australia know of the development of the Republic of Korea. Despite the fact that he was not able to join us today at the ceremony, but he is in a healthy state in Australia. We will continue to remember him as well as other Australian war veterans, and I sincerely hope that today's medal could serve as a small reward for his sacrifice, and sincerely hope that he will be with us for a long time going forward. Fellow Koreans, members of the bereaved families of the UN war veterans, as well as distinguished guests, including Priest Kapon and General Kan, some 1.95 million war veterans from 22 countries around the world have become the noble sacrifices and dedication which have become the pride of the Republic of Korea. And my government has been carrying out commemorative events for the war veterans and their families, and also many scholarship programs as well. And in March last year, we also enacted the Act on honoring these war veterans. Remembering the relationship based on the blood alliance forged upon the participation in the war, my government will continue to pay back to the sacrifice and dedication put forth by the war veterans. And by cooperating with the rest of the international community, we will also tackle global issues. And last but not least, I sincerely once again extend my deepest respect to the two heroes and wish for all of your health and happiness going forward. Thank you very much.
네, 대통령님 말씀 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your remarks. And next, the President will move to the podium for the medal presentation.
먼저 태국무국 훈장
First of all,
에밀
Taeguk
조세프
Martial Arts
카폰님입니다.
Medal to Emil Joseph Kapon.
훈장증 전 미국
Certificates of
제1
medal.
기병사단
Former U.S.
고
1st
에밀 조세프
Cavalry
카폰.
Division Captain the
이는
late Emil Joseph
6.25
Kapon.
전쟁에
The above person
참전하여
has
빛나는
achieved
무공을
distinguished
세웠으므로
military services
대한민국
by taking
헌법에
part
따라
in the Korean
다음
War, and the
훈장을
following medal
수여합니다.
is awarded in accordance to the
태국
Korean
무국 훈장.
Constitution. Taeguk Martial Arts
2021년
Medal, July
7월
27,
27일
2021,
대통령
President.
조카 레이먼드 에밀 카폰님께
It is being awarded to
훈장증이
his
수여됩니다.
nephew Raymond Emil Kapon.
훈장 2장이 추서됩니다.
And the award will be honored posthumously.
이어서
And
조카모델이
next, a souvenir will be handed to his niece-in-law, Lee Ann Kapon. It is a small gift that resembles the helmet that has been worn by Priest Kapon.
기념 촬영을 하시겠습니다.
We will have a photo session.
수상자분들은 자리로
Please
이동하시겠습니다.
return back to your seats.
다음은 국민훈장
And next, Order
성류장
of Civil
콜린
Merit
니콜라스
Sungnu Medal
칸님입니다.
awarded to Colin Nicholas Kan.
국민훈장 성류장 전 호주
Order of
왕립연대
Civil Merit
육군준장
Sungnu Medal
콜린 니콜라스
being
칸
awarded to
이하
Colin
내용은
Nicholas Kan.
같습니다.
And the details are same as
조카손녀
above.
캐서린
The
엘리자베스
certificate is being
칸님께
awarded to his
훈장증이
grandniece, Catherine Elizabeth Kan.
훈장 정장이 수여됩니다.
And the medal is now
이어서
being
조카
awarded.
증손녀 이매진 페이지 스미스님께
And also a
기념품이
souvenir will be
증정됩니다.
handed to his great grandniece, Imogen Page Smith.
기념품은
It is a memorial
합병석으로
plaque
제작된
made
참전
from
노동자
Gapyeong
석패입니다.
stone.
기념 촬영을 하시겠습니다.
And here we will take a group photo.
대통령님과 수상자분들께서는
And please
자리로
return to your
이동하시겠습니다.
seats.
That was the commemorative ceremony of the United Nations Forces Participation Day, remembering the heroic efforts of their participation during the Korean War. Their South Korean President Moon Jae-in also recognized the meaning of their participation, especially during this pandemic, when cooperation and solidarity are more important than ever. Let's begin with the COVID-19 situation here in the country. South Korea again reported infections above the 1,000 mark Tuesday morning, with increasing cases sweeping beyond the greater Seoul area, keeping health authorities on their toes. For more, we have our Choi Won-jong on the line. Won-jong, fill us in.
South Korea confirmed 1,365 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday. The number of cases increased from the number reported the previous day. Of the new cases, all but 89 were locally transmitted, raising the total caseload to over 190,000. Now, however, the Greater Seoul region still makes up the highest number of infections among Tuesday caseload, accounting for over 60%.
Right, and also due to concerns over the increasing rate of infections from non-metropolitan area, health authorities from those areas have imposed stricter measures, which will begin today. Tell us more about those measures.
To prevent further spread of infection across the country, the health authority imposed a stricter social distancing, raising measures to level 3 in non-capital regions for 2 weeks until August 8th.
Each ministry, local government, capital areas, and non-capital areas should team up to ensure meaningful changes within 2 weeks.
So for 2 weeks, stricter measures will cover most of the non-capital areas that are usually crowded with many visitors around this time. In a nutshell, the private gatherings of 5 or more are not allowed to under level 3. The nightlife facilities like bars and clubs must close by 10 p.m. and cafes and restaurants have to close by 10 p.m. as well, with only takeout and delivery services allowed after 10 p.m. And there are additional measures in place for places such as parks and beaches because the many visitors flooding these areas during summer break. No nighttime drinking is allowed, and everybody, even vaccinated people, must wear masks. However, for cities of Daejeon and Yangyang and Gimhae, which have been spiking cases, social distancing is now at the highest level 4, the same as the greater Seoul area. That's all I have for now. I'll be back with more. Back to you.
Thank you, Won-jung, for the update. Now, moving on, South Korea posted positive GDP growth during the April to June period, thanks to a record-high growth in private consumption. The Bank of Korea said Tuesday that real GDP in the second quarter rose 0.7% on quarter. This marks the South Korean economy's fourth consecutive quarter of growth following the pandemic-linked downturn in the first 2 quarters of 2020. Consumption was one of the major drivers of the growth, led by rising spending on semi-durable goods as well as in the service sector. It spiked 3.5% in the second quarter, the biggest growth in 12 years. It's now time for the Olympics update. South Korea added another gold to the list, as this time the men's team took the top prize, archery. For more on this and what's coming, we have our Kim Do-yeon at the News Center. So Do-yeon, another fascinating performance by Korean archers.
Tommy, it was yet another bullseye performance from Korean archers, but this time it was the men's team. It was a close race until the semis for the men, but they didn't lose a set in the finals against Chinese Taipei to take the gold. Korean archers have taken all possible gold medals in the sport so far, and we still have the singles competition to come. This also means South Korea has now picked up a total of 3 golds so far. Another bronze came as well from a men's judo event yesterday. Han Sung-woo with the details.
South Korean archers have done it again. Oh Jin-hyuk, Kim Woo-jin, and high school prodigy Kim Jae-deok beat Chinese Taipei 6-0 at the Umenoshima Park Archery Field in Tokyo on Monday to win their country's 6th Olympic gold medal in the men's team event since 1988. All 3 of Korea's gold medals at Tokyo 2020 have come from archery, a sport the country's been dominating on the world stage. Kim Jae-deok, who also won gold in the mixed team event with Ansan, now has a chance to claim the triple crown should he go on to win the men's individual event on Saturday. And in judo, An Chang-nim, born to second-generation Korean-Japanese parents, managed to finish on the podium in his country of birth. At the Nippon Budokan in the Japanese capital, An defeated Azerbaijan's Rustam Oruzhov in the men's 73-kilogram weight class to win Korea's 4th bronze medal. Meanwhile, swimmer Hwang Sun-woo will compete for a medal in the 200-meter freestyle finals on Tuesday morning. The 18-year-old finished within the top 8 in the semifinals on Monday after breaking Korean swimming legend Park Tae-won's national record for the event a day before. He isn't the only swimmer with good news, though. Kim So-young advanced to the semifinals of the women's 200-meter individual medley. The 2018 Asian Games gold medalist will be competing at around noon on Tuesday for a spot in the finals. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
In about an hour, South Korean women's fencing epee team will begin their journey by facing their U.S. counterparts in the quarterfinals. South Korea was relatively successful in fencing in the last 2 Olympics, and this year's lineup was supposed to be even better with former medalists involved. But Team Korea could only manage 1 bronze from the individual competitions. Now fans' hopes turn to the team events in fencing for gold. The men's team will also be competing in the epee event, joining the men and women's saber teams in the quest for gold. Shifting focus to the rest of the world, for the first time since 2004, China has failed to win gold at an Olympics table tennis event. Japan's mixed double duo came back after losing 2 sets to win Monday's final. Since 1996, the only table tennis event not won by a Chinese player or pair was the men's singles in 2004. Of the 32 gold medals given out in the sport since 1988, China has won 28. South Korea and Sweden had been the only 2 other countries to have won a gold in the sport until Japan's shock victory. The last time the Olympics were held in Tokyo in 1964, it was held in October under more favorable weather for athletes competing outdoors. Male triathlon athletes felt the extreme Tokyo heat on Monday. The Norwegian gold medal winner was seen vomiting soon after crossing the line. Despite starting at 6:30 a.m., temperatures rose to 29 degrees Celsius at one point. The race was not without other controversies either, including a false start when a media boat failed to get out of the way when the starter's pistol went off, and a possible sewage leak due to a tropical storm before the race. Finally, let's take a look at where countries stand in the medal rankings as Japan, the host nation, leads. And there are also a few exciting events to look out for throughout the day. I'll be back with more in a later newscast.
BTS's Butter is back at the pinnacle of the Billboard Hot 100 after briefly losing its spot to the band's other hit, Permission to Dance. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Another week has passed, but one thing remains the same. BTS at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. But it's not their latest single, Permission to Dance, but their other hit, Butter, returning to the throne for the 8th time. With over 115,000 downloads sold, 30.7 million radio airplay audience impressions, and a staggering 8.8 million US streams in the week ending July 22nd, Butter is once again America's favorite song. Permission to Dance, which debuted at #1 last week, moved down to #7, the very spot Butter sat for a solitary week. With the latest feat, BTS now has 14 Billboard Hot 100 #1s, including 3 with their previous hit, Dynamite. The feat was achieved in just 10.5 months, making BTS the quickest act to have 5 #1s since Michael Jackson. The legendary pop star earned 5 Hot 100 #1s in 9.5 months from 1987 to 1988. BTS is once again proving that the only artist capable of dethroning them right now is themselves. In addition, Permission to Dance may have a shot at regaining the #1 spot next week, as BTS released an R&B remix of the track on Friday. Whichever song sits atop the Billboard Hot 100 next week, there's one thing no one can deny: the summer of 2021 belongs to BTS. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea's tidal flats, or Getbol as they are known in Korea, have now just been added to UNESCO's World Heritage List. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more about the tidal flats' significance.
Getbol, the Korean tidal flats, support exceptionally rich biodiversity and provide a vital stopover for millions of waterbirds on their lengthy migratory journeys. Recognizing their value, the World Heritage Committee officially added Getbol to UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites at its 44th session late Monday in Fuzhou, China. The Getbol are comprised of 4 southwestern tidal flats spanning 5 municipal regions in South Korea: the Seocheon Getbol, Gochang Getbol, Sinan Getbol, and Boseong Suncheon Getbol. Considered to be the most spectacular intertidal wetlands in the world, experts say it's especially significant to protect these areas as they provide a place to stay for migratory waterbirds in Eastern Asia, many of which are globally threatened by habitat loss along their migratory pathways.
Millions of migratory waterbirds shared by the 22 countries of the flyway will benefit, including globally threatened species such as spoonbill sandpiper, far eastern curlew, and hooded crane.
The listing was a pleasant surprise for South Korea, as the advisory body to the World Heritage Committee, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, deferred Getbol in a preliminary review despite recognizing the tidal flat's contribution to biodiversity. However, South Korea did not give up.
Close cooperation between the Cultural Heritage Administration, Office for Government Policy Coordination, Foreign Ministry, Oceans and Fisheries Ministry, and local governments, along with strategy to actively persuade countries on the committee about Getbol's value, made this accomplishment possible.
South Korea is now home to 15 World Heritage Sites, and Getbol became the country's second natural site after Jeju Volcanic Island and lava tubes were inscribed in 2007. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
The lineup for the 78th Venice Film Festival has been announced, with South Korea's Oscar-winning director Bong Joon-ho named as a jury member. With the festival taking place from September 1st to the 11th, the director of Parasite will preside over the competition jury alongside Chloe Zhao and others. The film festival will kick off with Pedro Almodovar's Apparel Mothers, and 92 films will be shown, but no South Korean film has been invited. U.S. President Joe Biden wrote a proclamation on National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day on Monday, highlighting the historic alliance between South Korea and the U.S. Announced via the White House website, President Biden called on the public to pay tribute to Korean War veterans with appropriate ceremonies and activities. Biden also mentioned awarding the Medal of Honor to retired American veterans during a bilateral summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, adding that the partnership be maintained for peace and stability. In the face of worsening relations between Washington and Beijing, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman had a tense exchange on Monday with senior Chinese officials over an array of issues, including the origin of COVID-19 and human rights, to name just a few. Our Kim Yo-sun has more.
Senior U.S. and Chinese officials had a frosty exchange Monday over numerous issues, ranging from Beijing's human rights abuses to COVID-19 and cybersecurity. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman, who's in China for 2 days, sat down with Wang Yi, who doubles as China's state counselor and foreign minister. According to the U.S. State Department, Sherman expressed Washington's concerns over Beijing's series of actions that undermine the international rules-based order. She specifically expressed concerns over China's anti-democratic crackdown in Hong Kong and its crimes against humanity in Xinjiang province. She also conveyed Washington's concerns over the origin of COVID-19, pointing out how Beijing has refused to fully cooperate with the WHO. The White House explained it's important to discuss such hard topics.
We think it's important for us to say directly to the Chinese officials in private what we say in public. It's in our interest to be very clear to Beijing about where we stand and explain our concerns in detail. And our philosophy is that we should not avoid hard topics.
Sherman, however, highlighted the need for cooperation on other areas of global interest, including North Korea and climate change. Earlier Monday, she sat down with Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Xie Feng, during which the Chinese diplomat accused the U.S. of treating Beijing as a, quote, imagined enemy.
Currently, the China-U.S. relationship is in a stalemate and faces serious difficulties, fundamentally because some Americans portray China as an imagined enemy. Those in the U.S. hope that by demonizing China, they could somehow shift domestic public discontent over political, economic and social issues and blame China for its own profound structural problems to serve its domestic political ends.
With the visit by Sherman, the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit China since President Biden's inauguration 6 months ago, ending in sharp criticism from both sides, it's left to be seen how the relationship unfolds going forward, including a possible summit between Presidents Biden and Xi. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
Good morning. Steamy heat continues across much of Korea today with heat wave warnings remaining in place across much of country. So be sure to stay hydrated and take advantage of shade when you can to avoid heat-related illnesses. Seoul and Daejeon could go up to 35 degrees. Chuncheon will be hotter at 36 degrees this afternoon. Sunny skies for most regions, while mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province and Gyeongsang-Pukto province could see 5 to 30 millimeters of passing rain during the day. The sweltering heat will continue in the capital through the end of the week. Then nationwide rain is in the forecast for Saturday afternoon. Meanwhile, tropical storm Nepartak was sitting off the eastern coast of Japan on Monday night and is forecast to make landfall on Honshu tonight. Tokyo is forecast to see up to 25 millimeters of rain through Wednesday, along with strong gusts, which could cause sea swells in the East Sea. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That'll do it for us at this hour. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.